And we are live. This is the Wrap It Up on Blast Raps post-game show. As always, my name is Sheldon Alexander, and this episode of Wrap It Up is brought to you by Clean Cuts Barbershop, 2013 Danforth Avenue in the East End of Toronto. Clean Cuts, the multicultural barbers that will always keep you fresh for any and all occasions. So go see Skip and the crew, and as a wise man once said, tell them that I sent you. Check them out on Instagram at Clean Cuts Toronto or give them a call, 416-917-4833 to book your appointments now. Raptors fans, we're here for you.
Support group,
we're here for you. You know, that was a tough loss, but we're here to help you out. We're here to change your mood, change your vibe. And I'm going to be the first one to say, remember, we are NBA champions. And you know what? A 20-point loss to Kawhi's Clippers doesn't change that. Kawhi being back just gives us another opportunity to reminisce and remember that we are NBA champions.
Yep.
My name, as always, is Sheldon Alexander. I'm here with my guy, Q. Q on the far side, and Mikey. Q, what's up? Tell the people what's up and where they can find you on the socials to calm your nerves, because you seem a little down.
Let's read in the comments. You know where I'm at. Simply_just_Q on all social media, or check us out, ddscaps.com or at ddscaps.
Mikey, where can people find you, man? How you doing, man? It's been a while. I know you came up for the Kawhi game.
Yeah.
And here I'm here for you, man.
I know. We need this.
It's a dub.
Group for everyone.
It's a dub the whole year because we're champs. Mikey, how you doing, though?
I'm good, man. I'm good. You can find me on Instagram, Mike_Bello_6. Hit me up, guys. Hit me up.
And this is what we call the Wrap It Up podcast, where we discuss any and everything Raptors after each and every Toronto Raptor game live on Twitter at Shell Alexander. We take your comments and questions. I see the questions already filling up the chat room, rolling in early, which is good. And if you are liking what you see and you want to spread the love that is the Wrap It Up podcast, hit us with a like.
Smash that like button.
Hit a like on the tweet. Hit a retweet.
Hit
share
a subscribe.
the love. The subscribe, all that fun stuff. Same thing goes for Instagram at Sheldon Alexander. More comments and questions there. People are filtering into that chat room as well. We're here for you. This is the People's Podcast, Raptor fans. We got you covered. Don't worry, it's all right. And just know that even if you got to check out early, we got you covered on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Play, and on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Just search On Blast Podcast. On Blast is the network. Wrap It Up is the show. Let's get to the business. And the business is exactly what the Raptors got tonight. They got the business.
Who'd they play?
So, again, I'm going to try to put a positive spin on things because we know the Raptors got blown out. It was an ugly game, an ugly performance for the Raps. Again, they lose 112-92 to Kawhi and the Clippers. And the Raps have now lost 3 of 4 games. And even the game that they won
In Chicago.
Was terrible.
Fluky.
They probably should have lost that game as well. So the Raps are on a bit of a slide. But I'm not going to focus on that. I'm not going to be negative. At least that's my angle tonight. I'm here to talk about and reminisce about seeing Kawhi Leonard again for the first time at Scotiabank Arena since, of course, the NBA Finals. So I'll start there. What was it like to see Kawhi Leonard again in Toronto? How did it make you feel? And I don't even mean just on the court, but just because I know it was flooding the social media feeds, flooding your timeline all day. Mike, I'll start with you. What was it like to just see Kawhi Leonard again and the Raps linked on your timelines all day today?
It started from even before tip-off, like before even the ceremony. Like it just all day it kind of had a little bit of that jittery, good feeling like how it did last year, right? It was good. I mean, we all love Kawhi, right? He deserved everything that we gave him in the ceremony.
The applause,
also, skipping forward, I'm glad that he handled the way he handled himself. I didn't. There was talks about him maybe grabbing the mic and saying more, but I think he said enough at the parade, right?
And there's still a game to be played.
Exactly.
Right?
Like, he handles himself good with some prudence. Like he's always cautious. He knows, right? He did it. Saw everybody, the huddle, got the ring. I thought it was a perfect way out.
Yeah. Q, what about you? What was it like for you to see Kawhi? Was it happy feelings or was it like, damn, what could have been?
Yeah, I admit it's a little bittersweet, you know. Just, you know, was a different vibe in the city last year. You know, even before the championship, like every game was a little bit of excitement just to see what
was going to happen next.
What was to be, you know,
or if he was playing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, don't we wish tonight was a load management?
It some load management. Sorry, guys. It's knee management.
Yeah, that's
now,
right.
not
Knee maintenance. Knee maintenance.
Sorry.
Knee maintenance.
But yeah,
it was good though. Like you were okay seeing Kawhi.
It was good, man. The billboard up at Young and Dundas.
I like that.
Yeah,
right.
That
The city
cool.
still showing love.
Great marketing by New Balance, right?
Definitely.
And I don't even care. I know people made a deal about, it's just a corporate thing, anyways. I don't care.
Oh,
at the end of the day, the gesture
he acknowledged
is a gesture.
Yeah, exactly. He knew what was going on. Some people were saying that New Balance did that without his consent. Like, I'm pretty sure he knew.
They would have to run it by him.
Exactly.
And this is Kawhi, right? So you know Kawhi is usually not that guy that outspoken to make gestures. Mm-hmm. So it kind of shows that, you know, despite everything, there was some love for Toronto reciprocated.
Do you know what's funny though? My whole thing with this whole Kawhi and our people bitter about him leaving and all that is like, he's handled this quite well, this whole thing. Mm-hmm. Like, but also like, what were you expecting? We know he doesn't really talk. Like, he's not going to like
handle it. You mean after the decision or
just
all the whole process?
Like, people just mad that Kawhi left after the fact. People were mad at the time that he didn't take out like an ad in the paper to say thank you or something. Yeah. Like, just the most foolish, like
the
whatever.
paper.
You said it. You said it. You said it best. Last game leading up to this game. It you can't have it both ways, Toronto.
Yeah.
You can't have Kawhi leave for sunny LA, where he's from, and then you can't have, you know what I mean, and be mad, and then you can't have Tavares come and leave New York, right?
Yeah.
So,
also though, I just think the way when I look at Kawhi and I see a guy now that, you know, I don't see anything other than him enjoying his time that he spent in Toronto, and the biggest thing that I don't get with some of the people who are bitter is just like, you're allowed, like he's totally allowed to have enjoyed his time in Toronto, liked his time in Toronto, but finish his contract and then sign a new contract somewhere else, wherever he wants.
Exactly. I mean,
and I'm okay.
You know what? You know what? I don't think it was. I don't even think it's so much because he brought you a championship. He brought you a parade. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's
something that we haven't seen. So it wasn't. I don't think it was so much deep down. Okay. It's not. I'm mad at Kawhi.
Okay.
It's more of. Here we go. Now we're going. We get to the mountaintop. Now it's nobody wants to play in Toronto again. It's kind of going back. No, he didn't leave. He didn't leave like those are stars of the past, right?
Peeps, yeah.
But he still left, and now, especially when you're going through a slump, just happens to coincide with this time. It's almost like now we're back to square one again.
Yeah, but I think had he left for the Lakers, which wasn't the place that he would have been, it would have been a different story. He left where the rumors where he was going.
And also the way that it all turned out, it's not like he went to a crappy team. He went home and also got them to trade everything for Paul George.
Yeah.
In a crazy circumstance to have that deal come through. Like, it wasn't just some like off the whim, like, you know what, maybe, you know, like he went to a good situation and look how good their team is.
Exactly. And even, let's just say we would have lost to Golden State. The narrative still would have been, you got to run it back. Look how close you were. So, I mean, where does it stop, right?
But, like, do you know what my thing was, though? Even if we go back to last year and when we're talking about, it was like 4 months ago.
I know.
The chopper was following my guy on the highway, right? It wasn't even that long ago. But my whole thing was, yes, I would have been totally okay with him signing for one more year. But there still would have been part of me that was like, really? Only one more year?
Yeah.
Right? And then, like, I don't know if I was down to do that whole thing all over again, where it's like, what's going to happen next year? Is he going to stay?
And then if they repeat, then what?
Now we got to get the three-peat. Golden State didn't repeat.
Right? Then he's leaving the dynasty. Right? You know what I mean? So he was the man wanted to be home. He went home.
Yeah, and
you know what? At the end of the day, he took care of business.
I was happy for today, honestly, just to see like all those great moments again and be reminded of all the great moments that happened last year and some of the things that we forgot about now. Like we were talking about earlier today about Freddie describing the FU threes and how hyped that was in game 4 in Golden State.
Yeah.
Right? Kawhi came out at halftime, hit the 2 FU threes. The go back
17
to
points in a quarter or something like that.
right,
Yeah.
like go back to game 3 in Toronto against the Bucks when the Raps are about to win the game. Siakam missed the free throws. It goes to overtime, and then Kawhi just you could tell he left it all out on the floor with that steal, goes the other way, go coast to coast, and then after the game, Pascal's joking, but he's saying that, oh, Kawhi got mad at me because I made him play an hour of basketball, right? Like all those little moments, like Nick Nurse in the locker room.
Out kind of.
No, but Nick Nurse saying, oh, well, all we got to do, let's go to Golden State and get a split. And Kawhi's like, let's get 2.
Both, yeah.
Right? Like all the memories of seeing all those things again, that made me happy. And I said, I'm on tape. This is on wax. Right? Go back to the last spot. I said, I don't even care what happens in this game because I just knew the memories were coming and I was going to be okay with that.
He left, even though he didn't stay, he left such an imprint and an identity for this organization, right?
Yeah.
And you got to remember, too, that, the Lakers were kind of involved, but you had the best player on the planet in the offseason, and his teams were the 2 LA teams in Toronto. And legit, it was Toronto. And people know that.
Yeah.
So people take notice of that. And they see the organization in Masai. And they see that the best player wants to come to a foreign country. You know what I mean? Wants to sign with a team that really doesn't have a connection to. Like he was traded here. He didn't have to stay. And you just meant you said it perfectly. That he could have came, done his job, and that was it. But he let everything out on the floor.
Well,
right?
Here's the thing. I'm glad you brought that up, right? Because I was thinking about it, and one thing that I forgot to mention in the last podcast. So we were talking about Kawhi. I always mention the GOAT Raptor because in my mind, Kawhi is always going to be the GOAT Raptor,
100%.
right? I don't care about the 1 year because it was a big year. But I posted the picture of the Young and Dundas sign, and I captioned it on Twitter. I said, salute to the GOAT Raptor. And someone responded quickly and said, you can't get the GOAT Raptor after 1 year. I think it might have been our guy, Jeff Berg, actually.
Of course, Jeff Berg.
And it made me think, I was like, this is funny because this is one of those things, again, where I feel like people forget narratives the longer that time goes along. And what I mean by that is if you go back to remember the Raptors team that got swept by the Cavs the first time?
Yeah.
That team that had PJ Tucker. Remember that year?
Yep.
Serge first got here. Kyle Lowry, in that same series, played, I think, one of the games, then hurt his ankle, then didn't play the rest of the series going into his free agency year.
Yep.
Like, we forget about that now. Right?
Missed the shot against Brooklyn, too.
No. But I just mean the fact that, we saw Kawhi limping on the floor.
Yeah.
My guy could barely walk.
Yeah.
And he still played. And if you go back to that series, the Raptors were getting swept by the Cavs, and Kyle Lowry tried to play one of the games. Then all of a sudden, was in the full warm-up, in the warm-up suit, then didn't play, and then was in a suit for game 4.
Yeah.
Basically waiting for Sweep City to come around.
Yep.
And I only bring that up for all the people that come back at us that are like, how can you say Kawhi is a GOAT Raptor? I'm like, because I watched him limp up and down the floor, dunk on
coming
Giannis,
off of a
dunk on Giannis, and then come back and do it again.
An injured season, yeah, right? On a free, on the year where he's going to become a free agent and could have risked everything.
Exactly.
Where they're down 2-0 to Milwaukee, he literally could have said, well, I've done everything I could.
And I'm hurt.
And that's it. And it would have been.
He could have.
Right?
And we saw him limping. It's
exactly.
If Kawhi was hurt,
he
you
left it all out on the floor.
You couldn't argue.
That's what I'm saying. I'm reading a comment here that says that someone says that they feel like an ex-girlfriend who feels sorry. Kawhi's their ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
Who they still have feelings for.
I'm feeling a jealous ex right now.
Of course.
But as an ex-girlfriend that left you with the sports car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he
and
left
a mansion.
Hold on. Maybe the proper thing is you're the ex-husband or the ex-wife. And do you know what? I'm going to take this up a level. Maybe I feel like Bezos' wife, right?
Pretty much,
I'm the ex, but I got that bag
with Amazon.
Gave
you Amazon and he retired.
I got some Amazon stock.
And he went to Google.
Right? I might miss Jeff Bezos. He left me, but she's good with the Amazon stock.
Gave you the summer of your life.
Right?
Exactly.
I'm good. My whole point of bringing this all up is just enjoy the season. Last season was so much fun. The playoffs was so much fun. And although we didn't see it tonight, it's you can't deny the fact that he's left a lasting impact on some of the other guys that we've seen this year. If we are going to talk a bit about this game, I'm going to bring up OG. I thought the start that OG Anunoby had in this game, he started from the floor, I think
Got
4
the
or
first
5,
6 points or something.
all in the paint. My guy was playing hard defense. Like,
Yep.
he's talked about how sitting and watching Kawhi for a whole year.
We always
The
said
impact
that. Yeah, the
that had
tutelage
on
of
him.
Kawhi. Yeah.
For sure. And you just seeing a dude develop and grow. And again, I know it sounds weird saying this tonight because it got blown out, but the defensive impact, the way that you can impact the game on both ends of the floor, you've seen that championship residue stay here with this team.
Definitely.
And to see Kawhi in the building for that, I'll take that. I'm glad that I didn't hear any boos at any point. I don't even think I heard boos during the game
Even when he had the ball. Yeah.
Didn't hear any of that. I'm glad. I'm happy that happened because, again, I have no reason to ever boo that man. That man, seeing the videos of how many people were in the streets for the parade, like they put up 3 million people in the tribute video they had for Kawhi when he got his ring. Yeah. 3 million people in the streets of downtown Toronto.
Well, one of the best pictures is Kawhi looking with the shades.
Yeah.
You see the whole crowd, right? It captures the moment right
I
there.
I remember walking out of I was at the rec room, walking out of rec room towards Jurassic Park, making the left on York Street and looking and just being amazed at like what I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't look like real life. We talked about it before, but I have a similar story before I like headed into the streets, but it was walking out of the washroom after the game ended. I like found a hallway and I sat down on my phone to watch like the speeches and all that, like on stage with Doris Burke, the presentation. And as I walked back into the room, they cut back to the TV and they showed Yonge and Dundas Square. And I was
With the buses there.
I stopped dead in my tracks because it didn't look like real life. Yeah. I was like, all right, I gotta go join that, right? Like that was the scene. And those are things that only happen. You're gonna tell your grandkids about that, right? Yeah. Like that is a forever thing. And for us, we were kids when the Jays won.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so you always thought, okay, when is this gonna happen again? When is it gonna happen again? And that's how long it took. I don't know. To me, I choose, hey, maybe I'm wrong. People in the chats, let me know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm choosing to use this night as a night to remember
of course.
The good times, as opposed to the Raps have lost 3 or 4.
Here's a question that can carry on a little bit more of this celebration of Kawhi is if and when do we retire his number? I cannot see somebody
retiring his number.
Yes, there shouldn't be anybody that wears number 2 again on the Raptors.
Q, what do you think? You're thinking way too hard right now. For either yes or no.
I'm
Kyle too.
But I'm for you. Where's the statue?
Yeah, I'm right with the statue.
The statue is what. At least the statue.
Do you know what's the problem?
Because there's nothing but hockey players out there anyways.
Yeah, so there's the hockey statues that are outside, but you know what's weird,
and
right?
Nothing else.
There's no Joe Carter statue outside the dome.
Yeah.
Which there should be.
But they don't have any statues.
True.
Scotiabank does. So if you do,
very valid.
Yeah. It really wouldn't take longer than a month, we'll say, to do it.
And also, I don't get who's mad at that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what's your argument against?
At least it's a team moment,
but also
too,
the retiring
right?
of the jersey. I don't know how people are mad at that, and I go back to the same Kyle Lowry story I just told because I feel like as time goes along, we're gonna remember Kyle Lowry, NBA champion, which is great, but it wasn't all roses, and the only reason we look at him like we do now is because Kawhi was the difference.
I'm going to tell you the one reason I'd be a little bit worried of. Let's just say we postpone the jersey retirement until later on.
Yeah, like Kawhi's retired.
Kawhi's retired, which is what
probably
it should be.
That's what's going to happen. Yeah.
But here's where I get nervous: is if a whole new regime comes in, Masai and all them leave. Knock on wood, they don't.
Yeah.
And then another GM come in and says, "Well, I wasn't here for that, so let's just get." Joe Harris to come in and wear number 2.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Well, this is where the power of the internet should come in, and I hope that if any dude does try to wear number 2, he gets shamed into changing his number.
Right? And number 7. Same thing. It felt weird watching Amir Johnson wear number 15.
I think number two. There should be no number twos. No
the whole city.
No TFC.
No TFC. No Wolf Pack.
No one's allowed to wear number 2. My guy AB checks in and says, "Never forget there was a Bon Jovi banner at the ACC. Put goddamn number 2 up."
Yeah, the Bon Jovi was because they were trying to get an NFL team and all that stuff. But yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I'm totally there.
100%, man. Statue for sure.
There's a lot of talk. So C Brown checks in and says, "I'll reminisce about the good times on off days, game days. I can't help but focus/dwell on the current Raptors."
It's 82 game practice though. We can lose once in a while.
We're gonna talk about that. But the 82 game practices, I'm going back to what I was talking about before on the Kawhi memories. Because that's a Kawhi line, and we don't have Kawhi no more, so there's no 82 practices. We need wins.
We do,
right? Like
we're sliding.
Like when we were down 2-1 in Philly on the road. If you lose that game, you probably think it's over. It's probably done. Likely, you go down 3-1, it's probably a wrap, right? And Kawhi wins you that game
with the shot over Ben and Embiid
for sure. Game 5. Right? Like the Raptors lose the first 2 games against the Bucks, then they win the next 2 at home.
They win the next 4.
For sure. Yeah. But they win the game in Milwaukee. They go out. Kawhi again is like, "Yo, we're winning this." Like it's just you need home games with this team.
True.
When you have the best player in the series, hey, I'm here for your best player might win you a tough road game in the playoffs.
Pascal's
he's not there yet. And that's okay.
He doesn't really create his own shot like that. Like
I think they should turn Bremner Boulevard into sports memory lane. Put Joe Carter, put Alomar.
That whole nowhere, but
that whole street between the Dome,
Dougie Lane.
I still call it the Sky Dome. Sky Dome.
Me too.
And ACC should be nothing but sports statues.
And I got political connects, and I still refer to it as the Dome, so it's okay.
Exactly.
So. Going off C. Brown's point here about dwelling on the current Raptors, here's what I'll say.
Yeah.
They've lost 3 or 4. As mentioned, they haven't played well in either of the 4 games. Is this just the blip? Or are you starting to get worried about this current Toronto Raptors team?
I think it's a little blip.
Okay.
I mean, Freddie's been out the last 2.
Yep.
Kyle is just getting back into things. Serge is just getting back into things. This was one of everyone knew in December they had a hard stretch, right?
They had a hard run. 3 of those games, like Miami.
And now it gets a little bit easier. I mean, I guess Brooklyn's playing better, but then you got, I think the Detroits and Cleveland's right? Pretty much an easier stretch that leads right up to a big Christmas game against Boston. So, I mean, I'll decipher more with that stretch and when we talk after the Christmas Day game. And kind of see where
things
I think the
there.
Raptors are.
Q?
I'm done guessing with this team. I'm kind of just in a wait and see mode. You know what I mean? Like,
okay,
you don't really know what to expect, right? Like the Chicago game, people were using the excuse, maybe they're just already looking forward to the Clippers and Kawhi, and then they get blown out here and have kind of the same kind of, I'll say, effort. So. That's what's kind of has me kind of worried, and not that it's just a hard run and they just hit a wall.
Yeah,
it's how they're playing, right? It's not just missing shots. It just seems like things are off.
I totally agree with you, and I think that it's starting to become a trend and a bad trend, just in the sense of their 3-point shooting again was horrible in tonight's game. Tonight the Raptors finished 8 of 36 from 3. That's 22%. That's horrible. That's so trash. They shot 35% overall from the floor. So the problem is the ball movement, and I'm going to get to a comment here from @StrongDelusion says, Freddie is well missed. You mentioned Freddie's been out for the last 2 games. Yeah. He was doing a really good job at running the team and running the offense, keeping the ball moving. And of course, with him and Gasol both doing that, you're seeing the difference in terms of the kind of shots that guys are getting. Because in this NBA where every team shoots threes, it's a reminder that not everyone's a good 3-point shooter. Just because you can shoot threes. It doesn't mean that you're a good 3-point
shooter. Just watch Chicago, right?
For sure.
They shoot a lot of threes, but
totally.
A lot of those guys should not be shooting them at all.
But the Raptors previously were getting open looks from threes.
Yep.
And it's funny that how most people are better at shooting open threes than they are at shooting contested threes. And that's kind of the problem I see with the offense right now. And I'm going to be honest with you, there's a lot of people, as the podcasts go on, asking the question, is it time for Kyle Lowry to end in Toronto? I see a Coach Flores says Lowry got to go.
Coach Flores.
Someone else asks, is it time? Is it too early to bring up Lowry trade talks? And I pose a question to you guys. Are you worried about the team as currently constituted with Kyle Lowry leading the offense as he struggled again tonight? Another bad game in a row for Kyle Lowry as he went in 35 minutes. He had 6 points, 6 assists, but went 1 for 8 from the floor, 0 for 7 from 3.
Well, you said leading the offense. I mean, how many games has he been back? Is it 4?
Yeah.
So 2 with, 2 without Fred.
Yeah.
I think Kyle knows he's teetering towards the end of his promise and playing days, right?
I think that's
maybe
wrong.
If maybe he passes the torch to Fred while he's still on the team. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, so is our backup plan going to be just give Terrence Davis more minutes? Patrick McCaw, like
somehow I think Terrence Davis should be getting more minutes.
So do I.
You want to figure that out, but
I mean, also if we were going to trade Kyle, like I think it would have to be with his explosive attitude and seriously,
you're right.
You would have to go to him and be like, "What do you feel?" Messiah would have to say, right? I don't think having rumors pop out of nowhere about him that could be detrimental to the team.
Q. What was that? That was like a devious laugh right there.
That was a Kawhi laugh right there or something.
First off, Kyle does not. There's no passing of the torch. We know it's not.
No?
Not that it shouldn't happen, but it's not going to happen.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And I don't think the problem is I don't think the problem is Kyle. This is the same Kyle that there's always been. Yeah. He's streaky, right? Beginning of the season, everybody was like, "Oh, Kyle earned his $31 million," and Kyle was balling.
And he did the same thing last season.
Same thing, right? Then he gets injured, or his shot just stops falling, right?
Yep.
It's the same for 7 straight years, right? There's going to be a stretch probably February, March where you're going to want him with the ball in his hand all the time. It's just kind of how it is, right? Mm-hmm. I think the problem right now is given we always talk about the glow up. Mm-hmm. Given the glow up, obviously Fred's out, but even when Fred was playing those first couple games and Siakam, you're not in the position where you can afford to have Kyle shoot his way back into rhythm.
Yeah,
right? Whereas years past, there was no other options, right? Now he's gonna have to find a way to do it within the new Raptors offense,
yeah,
right?
And even the new Raptors hierarchy.
And that's where I meant passing the torch, not figuratively. Like passing the torch exactly what you said in trying to play in a different style, trying to do other little things, which he's good at, as opposed to, like you said, being able to take Iverson-esque shots to get himself out of a slump, right? Like, there's no more of that. We have too many options.
And I just think everybody's focused on Kyle, and yes, he's not playing well, but we have a coach who, a week ago, he should be coach of the year.
It was all good just a week ago.
You know what I mean? He's an offensive genius. And I think right now, he's spending too much time arguing with the refs and not fixing what the problem is. Not running, not figuring out what his rotation is and staying consistent with that. And also trying to fix the problems on both the offensive and defensive end.
So we got a comment here from, I think this says Styles on Instagram or on Twitter. Sorry, says this isn't Lowry slander or trade Lowry comment, but there's no denying his return killed our rhythm. I tend to agree with that.
I agree with that.
Schedule. His return came at
very true as well.
the top of the mountain of their schedule.
Very
Philly,
true. You're talking about Philly,
and you can
you're talking
Clippers.
about the Clippers,
of course,
Clippers,
but you're forgetting,
Philly, Houston.
you're forgetting that
Miami.
when he was out, we played the Lakers, Clippers, and Philly, right? So it wasn't all
in
those
the first
games,
5 games where teams are just
all those
getting
games,
acclimated, though.
all
right?
those
Like,
games, but all those games we played weren't just against Orlando and Atlanta. There were some.
I think
right?
it's both. I
Portland.
think it's a bit of both.
Portland.
Still, though,
Portland.
on the season, though, the Raptors' record against teams above 500
aren't good.
It's not good. It's below 500.
No, and I agree with you. But what I'm saying to you is that was our schedule. But in those games, it's not like we were getting blown out.
Okay.
You know what I mean? The Laker game, we won. The Portland game, Portland doesn't have a winning record, but it's still Portland, right?
Okay.
Like you're not going to try and put Portland in the same category as Atlanta and the Knicks, right? You know what I mean?
Fair.
Right? That's still Portland.
That's
and,
fair.
Right? And they were just playing. They were playing at a different pace.
I kind of think that the Raptors blowing out Utah threw us off the scent. Like, if they didn't blow out Utah, people would be very, very, very worried right now. But the fact that Utah, we know, is a really good team, and for whatever reason, Utah came out and were down 40 points at halftime.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if you just make that an easy...
But I think
if
that
you just make
I
that
think
a
that made
basic
things
Raptors
worse.
win by 5... No, but I'm saying if you just make that a Raptors win by 5, or let's say they lost that game,
Right.
at this point right now, people would be losing their minds about where the Raptors are. But like that game in the middle of the schedule makes it seem like, oh no, we were okay. But really, when you look at it and you go back over the games, they haven't really played well against good teams.
Yeah.
Right? Because, so if you really go back, right? So they beat the Sixers, right? That first time they beat the Sixers. After that, it was they beat the Knicks. They blew out the Knicks.
Yeah.
They barely won in Orlando, right? If you remember, that was a game that Norm just won them the game.
True.
And then they blow out the Jazz. Then it's lost to Miami, lost to the Rockets, lost to the Sixers. You barely beat the Bulls, probably should have lost, and then you get blown out by the Clippers. Do you know what I mean? So like,
but I think the problem is those games, the Laker game, the Clipper game, the Portland game, the Utah game, raised expectations.
100%.
Yeah, we were
Right?
like second in the
100%.
East.
Yeah,
for
100%.
Right.
2 weeks in a row.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
100%.
Right. So the
And people were getting mad about
the
what was it?
ESPN rankings.
The rankings.
So then is
Right?
that
But
that
there were- but-
fake though? Like,
No, but there's-
I think that was a legit run. But like you said, it's a long season of ups and downs.
Yeah.
And you got
But
you're
it's
right,
good. But it's
the
good.
chemistry
But
got
I think
a little.
it's going to be that, right? If you thought that this team was going to come in and just
Yeah, go 60
you
and
know
No.
21.
win 50, even
Remember,
55, right?
didn't
Even
think that.
55 games,
Remember,
right?
I'm sitting here at taking all the slander from the
Exactly.
start of the
Right.
year.
And that's what I'm
because
saying.
I said they were
Well,
going to finish 5 to 8.
And I'm somewhere in between you and planning the parade, right? Right? Like, right? I think they're a top 4 team in the East.
Even
Yeah.
Perk thinks they're going to the
For
finals.
sure.
I
too,
think they're a
right?
top 4. And I think they have the ability, the potential
to bring it back.
to do that.
Okay.
Right? Because
A lot of things gotta go their ways, but
I've
yeah.
told you, I'm not sold on Philly or Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Right? And as we seen last year, Giannis is an ACL. Knock on wood. I have in my fantasy and all
the
that.
The problem is we can say that we're not afraid of Philly and we're not afraid of the Sixers.
Yeah.
But the reality is, without Kawhi, do they win those series?
Yeah.
But I think that was a different Sixers team. I think that was Jimmy Butler. Right? You take Jimmy Butler out that series. If you take Jimmy Butler and Kawhi out of that series, who knows what happens? I don't think you could put $100 and be confident either way.
Well, the one thing is that you have to remember at least there were other Sixers that were playing well.
Yeah.
In
their
that
bench was
series.
playing really well.
Yeah.
Mike
I don't know
Scott,
if you could say the same
JJ
about the
Redick.
Raptors in that series.
No, I think
Remember, Kawhi was going for like
single-handedly,
35
yeah.
plus per game in that series. Like that's a series that I always point to when people are like, "Oh, what did like it was everybody else as well?" I'm like, go back to that series
Yeah,
because
that
that was Kawhi
series, yeah.
on a mission.
Definitely. And I'm not.
So sorry, we were talking about Kyle Lowry. We're talking about the GOAT Raptor, those two conversations. And I stated earlier, my issue with Kyle Lowry as a GOAT is I don't think anything changed with Kyle Lowry's game other than Kawhi Leonard being on the team. Kyle Lowry was the same up and down. You're riding the roller coaster, the wave of Kyle Lowry. It's just Kawhi Leonard replaced your top level talent, and then you won a championship. Does that make Kyle Lowry the best Raptor ever? No. Hey, that's on other people to decide. Cool.
You know, he had a good game 6 in the finals.
I'm going to read this comment here from my guy LT, who says, Kawhi can be the GOAT Raptor, but I still can't retire the number for 1 year. A 10-day can wear number 2, and it wouldn't phase me one bit.
Oh, wow.
LT.
It was a whole year. It wasn't a trade. It wasn't a trade.
You know what?
It wasn't a trade deadline deal.
No.
He was here from start to finish. It
know
was
what?
one of the best years that the Raptors probably will ever have because it's never better than your first one.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean...
I don't know. I'm just reading the comments here.
And again, it just comes back to what we were talking about earlier is when you've been jilted by best player, top player over time, and somebody actually does stick around and re-sign and stay their whole time without asking to leave.
Yeah.
You have a warm and fuzzy, just like when DeMar left, right? Everybody was like, "Oh,
sure.
He actually loved the city," and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When obviously, hindsight's 2020, but you make that
DeMar's
trade.
run in San Antonio hasn't really been as successful as Kawhi's run in Toronto.
Exactly.
And I'm putting that very lightly, right? I'm being very polite when I say that. We asked a question about, is this a blip? Comment here on Instagram says, I thought it was a blip last week. Now it's looking like a trend. DVAD says they aren't hitting their shots. They got to sink the ball. Vivid Body Tanning says the refs were garbage tonight.
Vivid.
I don't know if the refs would have helped them in this 20-point blowout.
I mean,
and again, the refs are trash
every night.
Every night. Pastor Wesley says, ease off Lowry and Ibaka's minutes. We should be focusing on development. I actually agree with that. I think, Chris Boucher is a thing that Q's always sitting there wondering why Chris Boucher isn't in the game. And I think Terrence Davis needs to play. You know that whatever's going down next year, you're going to be in full rebuild mode, right? Yeah. The same way that this is a prove-it year for Fred VanVleet.
Next year's a
that had people talking about, will he get 25 mil? Should he get 30 mil? And all that stuff. What's Terrence Davis's role with this team? You got to know those things. Yep. So Kyle Lowry playing, what did he play tonight? 39 minutes, I think it was. Kyle Lowry playing 39 minutes against the Clippers in a blowout game doesn't make much sense to me. 35 minutes, Kyle.
Nothing about the rotation made sense.
But when they came back in the game, so
the fourth quarter for 8 minutes of the bench guys.
Well, I wrote this part down because I was really confused by it, right? So the Clippers go on that crazy run in the third quarter.
10-0 run,
right? At one point, it made it the Raptors came back into the game. They got back in the game.
Make it a 5-point lead.
21-6 run for the Raps. They cut it to 5. The score was 76-71. Raps are back in the game. Clippers call timeout. Boom, they go on a run their own. It's 86-71. And then the Raps come out, and after this Clippers 12-0 run, the lineup to start the fourth quarter was Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, Terrence Davis, McCaw, Boucher, and Serge. And I said to you guys before they even tipped off, or before the ball got inbounded, I'm like, this is a game right here. Because regardless of whichever way it goes, like, how is this a lineup that you're freestyling with to try to get back in the game? And hey,
against the starters of the Clippers too.
But I understand last year when you were messing around with different lineups because you're trying to see what's going to work for the playoffs. There's a bigger game involved in all that. To me, I thought this was a game that you wanted to win, and this year should be about development. Boucher shouldn't be stepping in the fourth quarter for his first minutes in a game where you could use his energy in the first half.
And that's my thing. Like, I'm not saying Boucher is going to come in and save us.
No.
But when you see things start getting stagnant, and there's no energy, and you're getting out rebound, you're losing every you're losing every rebound, you're losing every loose ball.
Yeah.
Those are the times where Rondé and Boucher have to play.
Yeah.
They have to play.
And Terrence Davis for that matter, too.
I also just think what ends up happening with the Raps offense too is they're trying to hit the home run ball, to quote Jack, and just knock down these threes to get back into the game. But those threes aren't coming within the flow of the offense. It's just someone jacking up threes. Whereas when you bring in the Rondé, the Boucher, the Terrence Davis, they're getting it dirty points. They're mucking it up, getting those points in the paint. Yeah. Taking it to the basket. What's Jack say? The city game, right? Like, you need to muck it up and get some easy twos before you start bombing away from threes.
Yeah, Norm.
I don't know. I just think Norm, and this is going to sound weird.
He played well, but...
Norm played well in this game. Norm at least gives you, like, at least you can never say Norm isn't giving you energy in this game.
Sometimes too much. He goes a little too fast for his dribbling.
Sometimes I look at Siakam, sometimes I look at Lowry, and I'm just, and Serge, and I'm like, they just don't seem to have that bounce tonight.
Yeah.
Norm, you can't say that about Norm. Every game, my guy looks like he's ready to shoot.
You know what, Norm, and like he said, he's fearless, right?
No, he is.
Right, and I think to me, his shot selection is getting better. Mm-hmm. There are still a few crazy turnovers.
Yeah.
Right, he was on the fast break. There was a 3-on-1 fast break, and he
Sheldon,
made a good point that threw the ball at their feet.
He shouldn't be getting a guy with the ball on a fast break. He should be the guy getting the ball.
But I think he just gets excited.
Too excited.
He just gets excited.
He's got that
right?
college haircut, and he's ready to go.
But when you're watching the rest of your team not do much and not have the energy, I think he takes it upon himself at that point to try and be the guy for them.
The spark.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And what was the game? What game was it? It was
Orlando.
The Orlando game where it was him.
Yeah.
Right? Otherwise, we're sitting here and with an even worse record. Right?
Exactly.
So you can't really get mad at Norm.
Diaz says Kyle and Ibaka looking like the old mans at the Y who think they're nice on the hardwood because the block respects them. Yeah. I'm not going to diss him
rough
like that.
Game today.
It's a bad
game. Bad game. I mean, you had a little glimpse when they came back. I thought, and then, like you said, Doc calls a timeout.
And the other thing to remember, the Clippers are a good team. If you actually match up team for team, and I know the Raptors played the Clippers tough in the first game, but here's another reminder. There's a dude named Paul George who was not playing that game. Yeah. And he's a pretty big deal. He's a top 15 guy in the league minimum? Top 10 maybe?
Easily, yeah.
Right?
He's a good two-way player.
Yeah. Easily. Top 10 probably. So, that's a pretty big deal in the difference in terms of when the Raps played them the first time around without Kyle and Serge to the second time around with Kyle and Serge. But now there's Paul George. I'd rather have Paul George than Kyle and Serge.
And Lou Will lit it up.
Lou Will. Thank you for bringing up Lou Will. Lou Will.
3 times 6.
I will always rep Lou Will.
Yeah.
I will always rep Lou Will. Shouts to Lou Will.
Lou Will.
Side note, if you're looking for a very good story, check out Lou Will on the podcast with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes. Very good listen, very good watch.
Drake, the parties he has at his house.
The parties he has at his house
Drake
pretty good.
Wrote the song about him. Yeah, I watched that.
But also, he tells a story about being robbed or a guy trying to rob him and then realizing that it's Lou Will. And then he's like, I can't rob Lou Will.
I got to watch the rest of that.
Well, anyways, Raptors fans, this was a crazy game, and I know that the Raptors lose, and I know they've lost 3 of 4, and things are not looking good right now for the Toronto Raptors. I understand all that.
But the schedule gets better.
Raptors have lost 3 of 4. They're currently 16-8 on the season. Oof. They've lost 3 games at home for the first time since 2018 or 2017. It's been a long ass time.
A while.
It's not a good look at all. But I'll say this much. The fact that you are able to lose the finals MVP and another starter and still be in playoff contention is nothing to be sad about.
Yep.
Right? And that's why people took it as such disrespect because I'm like, they could come in 5th. It's like, that's not disrespect. You lost the finals MVP and another starter. That's a huge
Nobody else even had us making the playoffs.
Right?
Exactly.
I don't know. I just think I was happy for today to see the fact that, to have a good memory of seeing Kawhi Leonard and realizing that, hey, we're NBA champs, right? Do we want to see some quotes, what some people have been saying after this game?
Sure.
Yeah?
A couple.
Kyle Lowry says, this is from my guy Josh Lewenberg on Twitter, of course, as I always say all the time. Follow Josh Lewenberg on Twitter. Good people. It's good follow. Kyle Lowry says, I've had 2 good games since coming back, and the rest have been shit, to be honest. Once I get back to where I was at the beginning of the season, it'll be great. But right now, I'm just trying to work my way back. Right now, I'm nowhere where I want to be. Another stat here I see from Josh Lewenberg. Raptors over their first 19 games were 15-4. Okay. Shooting 46% from the floor, 40% from 3. Raptors over their last 5 games are 1-4, shooting 40% from the floor and 27% from 3. Ooh. Pretty much sums up exactly what's going on with this team. No chemistry.
I don't think it's just. It's also the defense. The defense, aside from a
defense
few plays,
gets you easy shots. Yeah.
The defensive energy is not there throughout the team. There's a couple guys, obviously Gasol, Rondale, Hollis Jefferson, but overall defense is not there.
So to switch up the mood and turn it to a little more positive things here, Josh has a good quote from from Lowry on the Kawhi ceremony. Kyle said, quote, "It was great. It was well-deserved. He helped the franchise do amazing things. He got his ring, and I think he was pretty happy with it." When asked about Kawhi's wiping away of fake tears, Kyle said, quote, "I think something flew in his eye. Seriously. Seriously." Listen, I mean, if we want to get mad about the Raptors, we'll wait until next game against the Nets. For tonight,
it's just memories, man.
For one, am going to choose to be positive and remember the good times of the Kawhi Leonard, the ha speech, all the fun times, the fun guy, all those things.
What it do, baby?
Right?
Exactly.
Other than, can I ask you just one last thing?
Yeah.
Each of you. Q, I'll start with you. What is the memory that you have of Kawhi that you'll remember the most?
Which play?
It's only 2.
Just anything.
Really,
no, just anything. It can be anything. Like if it's a 4-bounce shot, cool. Is it like some undercover moment that you're just like, oh man, that's incredible? Like,
I think it was the dunk on Giannis.
Me too.
And then
we were here.
We were right here.
We were going crazy.
No, because we were here for the 4-bounce shot, and when I seen it go up, I was like, okay, overtime. And then
it bounced.
It bounced and then bounced again. Like that was the most suspenseful moment, probably in sports history.
Yeah.
But that dunk on Kawhi, like we were going crazy.
We were going crazy here for people that are listening. We were going nuts here.
Yeah.
But the meaning, which sometimes people don't realize, is that was a moment you knew you're going to the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes, the shot was you're going to the 3rd round against Milwaukee, but we were a little timid, like, we don't know, Giannis. That dunk,
I know what you're saying,
marked it.
Yeah.
Where for the first time we looked at each other after chest bumping and going crazy, and we're like, holy shit, we're up like 6 or 8 with a couple minutes. We're going to the finals.
Yeah.
So for me, the shot and but the meaning behind the dunk on Giannis, is something I'll never forget.
I don't know if I've told this story before on the pod, and so it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different because obviously we were doing the pod last year after every game, so I didn't really go out to watch many games other than the last 2 playoff games, right?
When people thought you were dead, they didn't know where you were.
Exactly, they didn't know where I was. But obviously, as you mentioned, the dunk on Giannis is massive. Obviously, the 4-bounce is massive. Them winning the championship is massive. But the memory that I have that will stay with me the most, and I still think it's probably better for the safety of the city that they didn't win Game 5 of the NBA Finals, because we might forget now, but at the moment, leading into Game 5, because Raps were up 3-1, everyone was planning the party.
Yep.
It was all about, where are you going after?
Yeah.
What are you doing to watch the game? Where are you watching the game?
Guilty of that.
I'll meet you wherever afterwards. Everyone's planning the party.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. You're up 3-1 in the NBA Finals coming home, right?
Yeah.
Remember, Drake had this big speech. He was all happy already, counting the chip.
Yeah.
And so in that game, remember, they're losing. And shouts to my guy Greg and Kate. I remember they threw this great party for Game 5. And the Raps were down in that game in the middle of the fourth quarter, and Kawhi Leonard went on a personal 10-0 run.
I remember that.
To bring the Raps back and give them the lead in that game. And while we're watching it, and to set the scene, we're at it's like a club, but they had like a bunch of TVs like literally everywhere, couches set up everywhere, and they had a DJ playing music going into commercial breaks and stuff, right? Yeah. I'm just trying to like set the scene, set the atmosphere. So the Raps are losing, you're waiting, you need the spark, and the beauty of Kawhi Leonard to me, the beauty of the star player is because they sense when they need a run. He's playing a game last year, if you paid attention, where keep it close, and then I'll win you the game.
Save his energy, save his energy. Okay,
pacing himself, I'm going to win the game.
Yeah.
And so if you go back to that, the Raps were down, and Kawhi goes on the 10-0 run. But we're watching the game, and I remember I was standing up. Q was there. You'll remember this. So we're standing up, and I'm in front of me is a couple sitting on a couch, and then another girl sitting beside the other girl, right? Yeah. So Kawhi hits the first shot. And I'm like, okay, cool. Come back down the court, get a stop. Kawhi comes down the other way, blows by Clay, gets another bucket. And I'm like, let's go. Yes, we're getting hype. People are starting to get hype. Then he gets the ball again, comes down, and I'm screaming at this point. I'm like, give it to him again.
It's like Tupac.
And the girl like peeks over her shoulder and like looks like, what the hell? But now Kawhi comes and buries the three. And everyone's like starts jumping. Yeah. And we're like, yeah, right? And then it comes back down the court. And so I think it was either Iggy now switched onto him. And I'm like, oh, Iggy wants some now. Give it to him again. And then he buried another shot. And now, like, the whole place is starting to lose it. 10-0 run. The place erupts. They go to commercial break, and the DJ dropped Travis Scott, Drake, Sicko Mode. And, like, I thought the whole place was going to come down. Like, it was just so hyped. There were people like throwing drinks all over the place. People are on bars, on tables, like Kawhi 10-0 run. And in that moment, remember, we all thought they were going to win. That was when it was like, holy shit, we're about to win the NBA championship
at home.
But just watching one man just look at everyone else on the floor and be like, get out of my way. I got this.
Yeah.
And then Nick Nurse called timeout, which is a story for another day.
Oh,
but I'm just talking about in that moment.
Yeah.
Like, I'll remember that. Jumping up and down. You're hugging everyone around you. And homegirl that was sitting in front of me from the first basket went from, like, looking at me like, what the fuck's wrong with this guy?
To her arm
like,
around you, jumping with
like,
you.
Jumping up and down, like, yeah, like going crazy. So
now you could tell that story with enthusiasm. Because we ended up winning.
Yeah, they still ended up winning.
Yeah, because but that's
a
good story. Now, listen, everybody has their little story, and
for sure,
that's why this game. That's what this game means.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Not that we lost game 24,
which we won't remember next week.
Like, and even if we won, Kawhi. Do you think if we would have won? I know as a Torontonian, we would have been like, man, we won. See, Kawhi's regretting leaving. Because in the playoffs, let's just say we would have got knocked out of the second round. Kawhi would be in the semifinals against the Lakers, and he wouldn't care about game 24 in Toronto, right?
Yeah.
So that's just a little thing of we gotta all understand and take this with a grain of salt that this is just game 24 or 23 or 24, whatever it was. Kawhi was back and just gives us our chance to reminisce on all the greatness that we had last summer.
For sure.
That's it.
And also too, like, no one's doubting the fact that the Clippers, like, if you're Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, they're a good team.
No. But if you're Kawhi Leonard and you had the same decision to make, we're all making the same decision that Kawhi Leonard made.
Exactly. Warm weather.
Like, think about how crazy it would have been. George comes. Think about how crazy it would have been if he decided to stay in Toronto. We all would have been like removing ourselves from the situation and our bias of obviously rooting for the Raptors. We all would have been like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly.
To know that you could have had Paul George in and be on the Clippers and join that team that was already good. They were a playoff team last year.
One of the best coaches, richest owner. Yeah,
I'm happy for him. He got his ring.
Same.
What it do, baby?
What it do?
All that
memories,
fun stuff.
Good memories.
Great
on
memories.
To the next game.
On to the next game. Hopefully the Raptors find a way to pull out a win. But in the meantime, Mikey, tell the people again where they can hit you up. What's going on with you? How you doing? When you coming back on the pod?
Mike_Bello_6. Hit me up. I'm gonna try to come back as much as I can. Work schedule's a little crazy,
but you know what?
I'm always watching you guys. And
you know what though? The one thing I always appreciate about my guy Mikey's still in the comments.
Yeah,
He'll send me a message. He'll like stuff. He'll post stuff.
I'm always watching.
He'll commenting.
Always, man.
I was trying to tell Q the last pod. I'm like, oh, you're not fully up on the YouTube comments. The YouTube comments are lit.
Yeah.
Like that's
Jeff
where
Berg leads the comments there.
The comments are hectic.
Smash that like button on the YouTube too, guys. If you watch it on here live, the next day Sheldon Works Hard puts it on YouTube. Yeah. Get to watch it all again. See our pretty faces and hit that like button.
Right? Exactly. Q, where can the people find you? What's going on, man?
DDScaps.com. Check us out. Check us out at DDScaps on all social media. And then hit me up personally. Simply _just Q. Simply just Q. That's me. See you guys. I actually won't be here Saturday, but I'll see y'all next week.
All good. It's all good. And again, my name is Sheldon Alexander. And thank you guys for tuning into this Wrap It Up podcast. Of course, you can follow me live on Twitter for this podcast after each and every Toronto Raptor game at Shell Alexander, taking your comments and questions there. Same thing goes for Instagram at Sheldon Alexander. This is a People's Pod, the Raps post-game show, where, hey, as always, there's tough games like this, but we're here for you to vent, to tell good stories, to share. Hopefully, we made you feel better. Yeah, exactly. After that terrible loss.
I read some of the comments early on. It's like, this is going to be a therapy session.
No, man, we try to flip it.
Everybody's, upbeat right now, so it's good to see.
Diaz says, this is the only Raptors pod I listen to. Good to hear homegrown Toronto man's on the mic.
Pew, 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 pew.
I'll take that compliment because Toronto is a city I love. Toronto is a city I rep. And so, of course, thanks you guys for tuning in. Like and subscribe to the podcast. Support the movement on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube. Hit the like and subscribe button again. It's On Blast Podcast. Wrap It Up as a show. On Blast is the network. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. You guys are the reason why we do this. Because you know what? Beforehand, I was the one needing the therapy sessions all the time after certain Raptor games, right? Yeah. And now we create one for like-minded Raps fans just like us. So I really appreciate you guys because I used to pray for times like this to rhyme like this. This is the Wrap It Up On Blast Raps post-game show. As always, unpolished and unapologetic. Until next time, see ya. On Blast.